Good afternoon and aloha. My name is Juergen Steinmetz. I'm joining you from livestream.travel and eTurbo News in Honolulu. And with me is Dr. Peter Tarlow, our co-host. He's joining us from College Station, Texas. And before we get into the serious breaking news going on today, let me ask Peter how the weather is, and I'll tell you how things are here in Honolulu.
Well, the weather here in Texas was really beautiful. It was a lovely day, nice sunny weather. It's my pleasure. So it was a beautiful day today in Texas, blue skies, high clouds, and we're especially grateful because, as you know, just a few hundred miles to the east of us is New Orleans. And of course, they're having the worst hurricane in the history of the United States. And so while we may be complaining because it's 92 or 93 degrees, they're in a situation with millions of people without electricity. The hospitals are filled because of COVID, and the entire city is blacked out. There's no electricity at all in New Orleans. So we're very thankful to be in Texas, where we have blue skies.
Hello and good day. My name is Juergen Steinmetz from eTurbo News, and this is a breaking news update. For more news updates and shows, please go to youtube.com/travel news group. youtube.com/travel news group. Here's our update.
U.S. travel, EU travel restriction disappointing. Travel is a crucial component of the global economy and will be necessary for a full recovery from the economic devastation of the pandemic. European Commission recommends travel restrictions for U.S. travelers to EU. Many EU countries experienced boost in inbound visitation this summer. U.S. travel encourages the EU to remain open to vaccinated Americans. U.S. Travel Association Executive Vice President of Public Affairs and Policy Tory Emerson Barnes issued the following statement on news that the European Union recommends removing
93 degrees.
Travel news
experienced boost in inbound visitation this summer. U.S. travel encourages the EU to remain open to vaccinated Americans. U.S. Travel Association Executive Vice President of Public Affairs and Policy Tory Emerson Barnes issued the following statement on news that the European Union recommends removing the United States from its list of countries for which travel restrictions should be lifted. This is a disappointing development following the boost in inbound visitation by vaccinated travelers that many EU countries experienced this summer. Despite the uptake in vaccinations, the tool that's highly effective against the variants, which are on the rise on both sides of the Atlantic. Travel is a crucial component of the global economy and will be necessary for a full recovery from the economic devastation of the pandemic. U.S. travel encourages the EU to remain open to vaccinated Americans, and likewise urge the United States to take immediate steps to begin welcoming vaccinated individuals and restoring our travel economy. European Union officials today recommended to suspend all non-essential travel from the United States as U.S. new COVID-19 case numbers spiked. Today's announcement by the European Council amounts to a recommendation to the bloc's 27 member states, which technically retain sovereignty over their own borders.
Thank you for listening. Peter, so this was the news in a summary. The European Union, that means Schengen area countries and also some additional European countries, members of the European Union, today decided to close their borders again after opening them up to U.S. leisure travelers, what of course is a big setback for the global travel and tourism industry.
And especially for the European travel industry, because Americans tend to spend a lot of money when they travel, and European economies, many of them are very highly tourism oriented. There's been all sorts of economic problems in Europe because of the lack of tourism, and they really need American visitors. So I'm not sure it's really hurting the United States very much, but it is going to be hurting the European economies tremendously. And I would think European governments would have some real problems with this recommendation. Now, of course, the key is it said all non-essential travelers, but it doesn't define what essential travelers are. So you're going to go see your child. Is that essential? If you're going on a shopping tour, is that essential? If you need extra French wine, is that essential? So there's no definition. It's kind of a statement without any teeth.
Peter, of course, it plays both ways. If you look at the traffic between both continents, the United States and Europe, I mean, we have hundreds of flights literally every day. Many airlines are affected, and they have been flying empty for the last 2 years almost. So for the economy on both sides of the Atlantic, this is kind of a disastrous statement. But considering the situation with COVID, was this the right decision?
I don't think so. Because if you look at the figures, you have high levels of people with the Delta variant, but they tend to be people who either have comorbidities or they're people who have not been vaccinated. And I think the real issue is, rather than saying we're going to close borders, we ought to be saying anyone who's had fully vaccinated ought to be able to take a COVID test and prove you're negative and then travel. And I don't know why we don't have set up in US airports and in European airports COVID testing that can be done fairly quickly. And then people can be on their way and have a great vacation.
Yeah, I think the testing situation in Europe is actually quite good. You have facilities at the airport. I know specifically in Frankfurt Airport, you have facilities available of instant tests.
Yeah.
You also needed to be tested.
I don't think you want to say Europe. I think you want to say Germany, because the testing facilities are not good in a lot of other European countries. Germany, it's true. It's not true in Southern Europe, and it's not true in most of France. So I don't know what the UK situation is, but Europe needs to up its testing. There are some countries like Germany that have done quite well, but there are countries like Poland. And of course, one of the problems in Europe is once you're in Europe, because there's no standardization, you can easily go from one country to the next, and there's no way of protecting the borders. So if I come into a country that's lax, such as Italy or Spain, I'm in Germany.
Now, if you look at some of the other countries besides Germany, Malta declared itself, for example, to be COVID-free.
Right.
And also have herd immunity. What happened to herd immunity? And Israel, I think, was in the same boat.
Yes. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't think Malta's a major player in the world of tourism. It's a small country. New York, or Atlanta, or Houston, or Paris, or Berlin, or Amsterdam. Wherever you're going, there should be a standardized form of testing. And I do believe people to get on planes should be proved that they should prove that they are COVID-free before they get on the plane and COVID-free when they get off the plane. And then we can look at the issue of testing even serological tests to see if they actually have, which may be more valuable, do you have a high level of antibodies? And that can be done. Israel now started this new program where they just prick your finger and you have a serological test in under 15 minutes. So this can be done very quickly and would then say, and you wouldn't have to prevent people from traveling.
I know, absolutely. It is definitely a very worrisome situation economically, health-wise, and we have to find a way out. What is the way out, do you think?
Well, I think there's really two issues. There's an economic issue and a political issue. And the political brilliant elite class does not always understand the economic issues. And tourism is not a political industry, it's an economic industry. And so we have a real problem because a lot of people use COVID as a way of political control rather than seeing tourism as an economic benefit. And so I think the tourism industry is caught between the jaws of the politicians and the needs of to make money.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Peter. Okay, when we get back, we're going to talk about Brazil. So please stay. Okay, welcome back, everybody. And we're talking about Brazil.
Yes.
Peter, what's going on in Brazil?
Well, Brazil really is having some interesting double crisis. One, of course, they're still suffering terribly from COVID. And that's a whole major problem. But on top of that, Brazil has a out of control crime wave. And yesterday, for the first time, bad guys, robbers started not only robbing visitors and other people, but they tied them to the front of the hood so that you became a human shield on top of a car. And
Wow.
This is a real problem because what it's done, it's August is a vacation month in Brazil. You have a lot of people coming in from Uruguay or Argentina or Chile, and they're really afraid to go because not only is it a question of being robbed, but how would you like to be robbed and then tied to the hood of a car so that you become a human shield? And so this is a really tragic situation that needs to be taken care of. Brazil, if it really wants to create its potential, it's going to have to get control of the crime wave. And that crime wave will literally destroy the Brazilian economy. So they're being attacked from COVID on one side and criminals on the other side. And that's a big problem.
Wow, that is terrible. And COVID, of course, is still very much an issue in Brazil. I think even higher than in most other parts of the world, isn't it?
It is. So and of course, that means also that there's lack of hospitals, lack of hospital beds, lack of medicine. And so it's not only getting COVID, it's what happens after you get it. If you don't have enough hospitals or hospital beds or medications, now what do? Do you just go home and die?
Wow.
And if you're in a hotel and you're visiting, what's your situation? You probably don't speak Portuguese. You don't know the name of a doctor. The hospitals are overflowing, and you're afraid to take a taxi or a car because you might be kidnapped or shot.
Wow. What else is there in the world? I mean, we're living through so many disasters. I mean, we don't even know where to count. So give us a bright side here before we close.
Well, let's see, something bright that's happening. Universities are coming back this week, and that means that this coming week will be the first round of football games. Now, that's going to be a really interesting thing in the world of COVID. They do say they're going to be able, it's outdoors, of course, football, but and they're going to try to have some social spacing. But, you know, for example, here in College Station, our stadium seats over 100,000 people. And that's a lot of people for a football game. So I think they're only going to allow in maybe 35,000. So that's, for us, is kind of a small number. But I think it'll give people a real lift. You know, we need a psychological lift. And I think the fact that football is coming back, and as you know, the Paralympics are going on right now, and they are been much more successful, I think, in controlling COVID than the regular Olympics that were in Tokyo. So that's another, you know, good thing that we see. But there's going to be lots of challenges in the world of tourism, and economically, we don't know what's going to happen between Afghanistan and illegal immigration around the world. And of course, Europe is now facing some real problems. And we don't want to really talk too much about the political situation in the world, which is kind of depressing to say the least. But let's be happy that there's some sporting events coming back. Australia, as another good piece of news, has said that by the end of the year, they hope to end their incredibly strict lockdowns if 80% of the population gets vaccinated. Now, I don't know if they can do that or not. Right now, they're 27%. But if they can get to 80% by January, then the Prime Minister has said that the incredibly difficult lockdowns that are taking place in Australia will be lifted and life will be easier. But you still got to get through September, October, November, December. So there's at least 4 months. Come on, Australia. What we need the Aussies to do is go get vaccinated. In fact, we need everybody to go get vaccinated.
Well, let's put this as a good note at the end. And thank you everyone for watching us. As you can see, we changed our format. So we might pop up on your screen at any time, day or night, depending on the situation. You're also going to see other video clips throughout the day and throughout the night. And if you miss anything, all you need to do is go to livestream.travel. You will find repeats of this, or better go to our YouTube channel because everything is now on YouTube. But Peter,
maybe you can repeat that YouTube address again.
Yes, the easiest way to go to YouTube, when you're on our website, on the top of every page, you see the breaking news show banner. That brings you to YouTube. Just click on the banner. You go to YouTube. What is youtube.com/travel news group. Well, for everyone else, for right now, we're going to say good night, goodbye, and we might see you in a few minutes, depending on the news.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.